right, everybody, we're officially going to start our call. Welcome to the 2021 agency training webinar. This is our first webinar for 2021. I'm very excited. My name's Joe Johnson. I'm your host today, along with Jimmy Hernandez. And we've got some really good topics that we want to cover. We're going to get into some goal setting, the importance of goal setting, and then I'm going to get into reverse engineering your numbers and kind of show you what I do to reverse engineer my numbers and how I've helped other agents do the same thing, reverse engineer their numbers so they know exactly what they need to do. And it really helps too with goal setting as well. But just real quick.
We still see there you go. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Got it. Okay. So you see the Happy New Year 2021?
Yes.
All right. So officially, Happy New Year, man. I know a lot of people I haven't talked to in a little bit, so want to wish everybody a great, a great Happy New Year. Hope that everybody stayed safe, your family was safe, and really, really looking forward to a great year in 2021. Obviously, new year, new agents. So we got a couple of new people we've recruited, brought on a few new team members over the last few weeks. So if you need to order your new agent starter kit, or if you just need to replenish your supplies, get in touch with me after the call so we can get your order in, get your business cards designed for you. And if you're in need of folders or delivery notices, whatever you need, just get in touch with me and we'll certainly get everything done for you. So if you can see my screen here, this is I've been thinking about for myself, Jimmy, anyway, what like I don't know, you can call it like my motto or whatever for 2021. So this is my motto for 2021. Maybe you want to come up with your own. You can piggyback off of what I'm saying here. But for 2021, I'm saying to myself, I got to fight for what I want or accept what you get. And basically what it comes down to is what the point that I'm trying to get across is that we really get to make our own destiny. You know what I mean? I mean, so many times I feel like, and myself included, that we let circumstances hold us back, but sometimes those circumstances they're just in our mind. They're not, you know, they're not real. We're just putting things into our head, maybe things that we're catching off of the media, or you know, maybe there's negative stuff on Facebook or whatever. But just reflecting back to what Jimmy and I were saying, there's a lot of people that had really good years. I've been talking to some business people of mine, a CPA friend of mine that says, man, we had the best year ever last year. So just because of the pandemic and the COVID, man, we really have to get over that and just push forward. And you really got to be willing to fight for what you want, or lower your expectations. You know what I mean? Settle, and you know, you could always do that too. But I think you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish if you just put your mind to it. I know for me, I'm not a huge component of making a bunch of New Year's resolutions. I know we always do. You know, I'm gonna, you know, lose some weight, work out more. I think one of my biggest ones for 2021 is that I'm definitely going to read more. Kind of slacked off a little bit in 2020. Probably watched more TV than I should have. Should have been reading more books, but I watched TV. So 2021 is the year that I'm definitely going to read a lot more and listen to a lot more positive audio in 2021. But one of the books that I always kind of reflect back to, it's not even really a book, it's a pamphlet. You may want to check this out. And about every 6 months, I think I kind of bring this up, but it's the new common denominator for success. And this always kind of cracks me up when I read this. Now keep in mind that This was written back in 1940, so it's a long time ago. And you can see the quote that I have on the screen, but I'm actually going to read directly from the book what the quote is. Here's what it says. Let me just read this to you. I want you to listen to it very closely because I think it's very impactful for what I'm going to transition into. It starts out with saying, perhaps you've wondered why it is the biggest producers seem to like to do the things you don't like to do. They don't. And I think this is the most encouraging statement I've ever made to or offered to a group of professionals. But if they don't like to do the things, then why do they do them? Because by doing the things they don't like to do, they can accomplish the things they want to accomplish. Now listen to this part. This is very important. The successful are influenced by the desire of pleasing results. Failures are influenced by the desire for pleasing methods and are inclined to be satisfied with such results as can be obtained by doing the things they don't like to do. Now, if that doesn't like smack you in the face, I don't know what does. And the point is, if you look at everybody who is successful, what a lot of times what we miss is all the hard work that they've done that you didn't see, whether it be athletes or business people. With athletes, it's the coming early, staying late, working harder than everybody else, doing the things that the unsuccessful don't like to do. In business, it's educating yourself, it's reading books, it's going to seminars. These are things that they don't necessarily like to do, but they know that by doing those things, it's going to propel them to the next level, where the less successful people, call them lazy or less ambitious or whatever, they just don't take the initiative to do that. And even when you apply this process of thinking into what we know as the sales cycle, just take a look at the screen, the marketing and advertising. Okay. Do you think that myself or Jimmy or all the other successful agents like spending money on marketing and advertising? No, I don't. But I also know it's a requirement. I don't like to do it, but I know that it's required for me to be successful. Do I like spending, thousands of dollars on recruiting ads? No, I don't enjoy doing that. I don't enjoy putting money on my credit card and writing checks, but I know that it's going to get me in the long run. It's going to get me the results that I knew. Lead generation, prospecting. Nobody likes to prospect. It's not something that's enjoyable, but prospecting has to be a daily effort. Daily prospecting, and one of the things, if you go back to what the screen said, it talked about lies in the fact that they form the habits of doing things that failures don't like to do. So it's by forming that habit. So if you get in the habit of marketing and advertising, it becomes a habit. It's like second nature. You don't worry about it. I know when I first got started many years ago, I had never spent a nickel of my own money for advertising. I always worked for someone else, where the owner of the company, they spent all the money for marketing and advertising. I got just to reap the benefits. Here, as business owners, we're responsible for that, for the lead generation, lead creation, prospecting. So daily prospecting has to be part of a habit that you build in every single day. If you're not prospecting every single day, that's part of being a professional, making those presentations and then follow up. follow up is a habit that we have to form. And I know a lot of agents that could be a lot better if they just followed up. If they followed up on their prospects, if they followed up on their cases. Jimmy, it cracks me up, but I mean, I see agents that write business and then there's pending requirements and they just never follow up on it. And those deals go bad. I mean, it's the little things that we do that are going to make us successful. And Jimmy, I know you wanted to let me turn it over to you. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about goal setting and maybe you could share with some of your techniques and what you do. Maybe just give us some tips on goal setting, and then I want to get into reverse engineering and teach everybody how to reverse engineer their numbers.
All right, thank you, Joe. And that really, I never understood what you just said. Somebody submits business. I've seen agents submit 2, 3, 4 apps, and then they just sit there and they got pending requirements and they don't do nothing. And then they call me about a week later and they say, hey, I haven't got paid yet. Well, your deal hasn't gone through yet. You gotta check that daily. But anyway, I do want to talk about goals. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm not going to give you this big, presentation about goal setting, but I think it's important every time we have a new year. Most people reflect about the previous year or years, and then they, it's a good, I guess you can say, time to check yourself. Where are you at in your business? What do you want to accomplish in 2021? And maybe you didn't do this before the end of the year. It's not too late. I mean, today's only the 8th, right? So if you haven't taken time to really kind of figure out what goal or goals you want to accomplish for 2021, well, let's do that now. I want to give you a couple of things that really work for me. And that is going with either a short-term goal or an activity goal. That really, really works for me. That drives it home. So I want to focus on that. So let's talk about short-term goals. You can set a goal as far as, let's say, a month out. You can say, this is what I want to accomplish in January. Today's the 8th. Where do I want to be come January 31st on my business? Do I want to have X amount of applications submitted or X amount of annual premium submitted? Or do I want to have X amount of commissions? However you look at that, you got to set those goals today. And then you got to break that up by the week, right? So like, where am I at today on that goal? What do I need to do to accomplish that before the end of the month? And then you got to set activity goals. And that's really where it's at, because it's one thing to say, okay, I want to write, $15,000 in annual premium, and, 25 applications. Well, anybody can do that, but how are you going to accomplish that? That's where, I guess the rubber meets the road. And let's put some goals together to achieve those production numbers with activity. And so, you should start with, your door knocks. How many door knocks are you going to make a week? And then break that down by day. The easiest thing to do is to get a calendar for the month and just print that out. Have it on a piece of paper, put it on your desk. How many days do you have left, right? What days are you going to work this month? What days are you going to take off? Maybe you're going to take a Sabbath day every week. Okay, that's fine. Take that off your calendar. Maybe you have a special event or an out-of-town event or something that's going to prevent you from working another day or two in the month. You got to take that off the calendar. What days do you have left? Okay. And then map it out. What am I going to do to achieve those goals? How many door knocks do I need to do a day to hit my numbers. And so Joe in a minute is going to show you the reverse calculation. But right now we're talking about setting those goals up right now. And so you got to set down your activity goals. And don't stop with door knocking. How about phone calls? How many calls am I going to make? How many presentations do I need to make? And out of those presentations, how many apps do I need to write? I mean, you need to break it down, right? And use your activity tracker to track it. And then you can know whether you're on pace or not on pace. This is how you hold yourself accountable to your goal setting. And I mean, I don't really have a whole lot more to talk about on that, except keep your goals short term, right? And make sure you write activity goals, hold yourself accountable with an activity tracker, and the numbers will take care of themselves. Joe said in the beginning, you know, there's certain things that we all like to do. And if you only want to do those things that are pleasing, right? Like presentations are easy. That's the fun part, right? The hard part is the prospecting for everybody, including me. I don't like prospecting any more than the next guy, but it's part of the business. It's part of the sales cycle. And if you skip that step, well, you're not going to get to very many of those presentations, the fun stuff. So do your prospecting, get your presentations in, and the numbers will take care of themselves. So that's my my 2 bits on goal setting. Joe, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, buddy. The only thing I want to add to that is like yearly goals are fun. I mean, you know, it's important to set yearly goals. But what Jimmy said, the most important goals you'll ever set are your short-term goals, even like your daily goals. I mean, every night, you know, before the next day, you should be on what I use is on my desk. I have a lot of paper on my desk, but I keep notepads, and I'm always writing notes down, things that I need to get done. Here's the one thing that somebody told me once that was a real wake-up call, and he said to me, you are what you do daily. So just think of that yourself. You know, it's you know, look at your daily activity. That's who you are. That defines you. So the only way to increase your sales or increase your productivity is to change what you do daily. Your daily habits are the most important thing in your life, for your health, for your relationships, for your bank account, your business, everything. So with that, what I'm going to do is get to a screen here. And let me see here. I'm going to do a couple different scenarios. So if you guys can see my screen here that says reverse engineering. All right, I think I got the next screen here. Oh, and Jimmy, yeah, before I get into it, Jimmy talked about tracking your numbers. So I'm going to hit a couple of different points here. Number one is that the importance of tracking your numbers is that it's difficult to do reverse engineering if you don't know what your numbers are. That's kind of the importance of doing reverse engineering, and that's always been my motivation, if I know exactly what my numbers are. Now, if you're new, maybe this is your first call with Senior Solutions, and you're thinking to myself, well, how am I going to reverse engineer? I don't even have any numbers yet. All right, well, we know what the averages are, so we can help you reverse engineering by kind of using the industry averages. But just if you take a look at the daily activity tracker with this particular agent, you can take a look at these numbers and look at, like, for example, dials. Well, this agent in this particular week made 109 dials, phone calls to, you know, various leads. I don't know exactly how many. It was 25 A leads. I don't know how many other leads were put into that. But we can see that out of 109 dials, as an example, he was made 14 scripts, so talked to 14 people and booked 8 appointments. So if we just do the math and we take 109 or 8 divided by 109, we know it works out to it's roughly about 7%. So as you're making phone calls off of your leads, you should know that roughly 7% of the dials that you make, whether they pick up or not, 7% of the dials that you make are going to result into an appointment. That to me is encouraging because you know the numbers, you know what they should be. As you track your numbers, you'll come up with your own. Now, that 7% number, keep in mind, that includes multiple dialing leads. Sometimes these leads you may be calling 4 or 5 times. Okay, so that 7% may seem like a low number, but it's not 7% of your leads, it's 7% of your dials. So I just want to make that clear. Another thing in this particular scenario, you can see that this agent received 25 fresh A leads for the week and 17 presentations, so you can do the conversion on that. And also wrote 9 applications, which is roughly, that would be a little bit over 30%, probably about 35% roughly. Okay, so this agent, because they've been tracking their numbers, and once you've compiled about 90 days worth of numbers, about 3 months worth of activity tracker, man, you can really narrow this down and really get it down to within a couple of dollars, where you know exactly every time you make a phone call, you know how much it's worth. Every time you make a door knock, you know how much it's worth. Every time you make a presentation, you know how much it's worth. And that's what always motivated me, because I think I figured it out once that every door knock I did was worth $50. Okay, whether they answered the door or not, it didn't matter. I knew that every time I knocked on the door, here's $50, here's $50, here's $50. And what that did is that motivated me, and it kept me going. Said, Joe, you got $50 right around the corner, $50 right around the corner. And that motivated me to just keep going, because I knew that it was the law of large numbers. So that's the importance of tracking your numbers. Let me get to the screen here real quick. I've got my whiteboard here. I'm gonna try to do.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah, please do.
So if you looked at that activity tracker, the guy did 90 door knocks and 100.
Can you go back to it?
Yeah, if you can. I don't want to mess you up.
Okay, no, we're good. All right. So here's the door knocks.
He
90
did
door knocks.
90 door knocks and 109 phone calls
This is in a week, by the way.
in 1 week, not a month, in a week.
Yeah.
Right after the holidays, right? So from the 28th through the 4th. So great job on activity. He had set 23 appointments. No, 22 appointments, 14 by door knocking and 8 by phone call. So that's 22 appointments. He had 25% fall out. And he had 17 sits. So those 17 sits, he got 9 applications and wrote $6,300 in annual premium. Now let's talk about that. 25% fell out. So if you book, 4 appointments and you have 25% fall out, you're emotionally attached to that one that fell out. You're totally disappointed, right?
True.
But when you're setting 22 appointments and you're still making 17 presentations, you really aren't bothered by those ones that fell out. You're really not. And when you write 9 applications in 1 week, right? 9 apps. So you feel that's a great week. You feel like you're on top of the world when you write 9 apps. I know I've done it before and I felt like Superman. So you feel really, really good about it. Now let's just say 25% of those applications fall out. Let's just throw a big number out there, right? That's still, about 4,000 in annual premium. You still made, close to 3 grand in advance commissions in 1 week. Okay. So who's going to complain about making 3,000 advance commissions in 1 week? Nobody. But
Yeah,
here's the question, Joe, is how many agents are knocking on that many doors and making that many phone calls consistently every week? How many?
true. It's not about doing it 1 week. It's about doing it every week.
Every week. You have
Yeah.
to do it every week. And so, and when you do it every week, then you have a consistent amount of applications, a consistent amount of commissions. You have the cash flow glow, baby, because you're making money and you're not emotionally attached whenever a deal falls out. So you got to really increase your activity. And then the guy got 27 referrals, and then he found $25,000 in safe money. That's additional opportunity for an annuity, right? I mean, so I don't know who this agent was, but they did a really, really great job. And I got to commend them on the activity for that week. And so I got to ask everybody who's on this call, if your activity tracker doesn't look this way, my question is, why not? And if you're not keeping track of your activity, why not? Are you running a business, or is this a hobby? Because if it's a business, you got to track your activity. You got to know where you're at daily. And that's really what's going to make or break you. Is this a business or is this a hobby? If you're treating it like a business, well, run your numbers like a business and know your numbers. I know I was in the corporate retail world for many, many years. And every time, let's say a member of upper management or corporate executive would call or come by and visit the store, they always asked me my numbers. They wanted to know my numbers. And if you didn't know your numbers as a manager, whoo, the rest of your day was not going to be good. Because how can you effectively run your business if you don't know where you're at? All right. Anyway, back to you, Joe.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, man. If this is your first day, print the activity tracker and start. I mean, if you got a blank activity tracker, I mean, you got a blank activity tracker. You know what it's all about. Let's see here if I can. Let me see if this is going to work now. Okay, we're going to start with this blank screen here. I got to get this off. Hang on 1 second. I got to see where I'm at. Okay, let me move this over. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get logistically submit. I'm going to try to write on my screen here. I don't do this very often, so hopefully it works out. So the first thing we're going to back into is, let's say starting from scratch, okay? Let's say you're brand new, and let's say your goal is that you want to submit, or you want to we're going to use submit numbers. Let's say you want to submit 15,000 in AP. So we're going to start here. Let's see here. That did not work. Click here. Jim, are you seeing these numbers? Is this showing up?
You got 15.
Okay, you want to write $15,000 in annualized premium, okay? Now, the first thing that we need to do is that you may not even know what that means. 15,000 annualized premium is the amount that the consumer's paying. So what we have to look at initially is, on a final expense application, what is the average? And if in industry-wide, the average is about $650. So that means the average consumer is paying a little bit over $50 a month for their policy, okay? So for maybe easier math, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down to $50, which is $600, okay? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 15,000 and I'm going to divide it by 600, which is the annualized premium, and I'm going to come up with a number. 15,000 divided by 600 equals, and I'm doing this as we go, That equals 25. What that means is that if you want to submit $15,000 in annualized premium, you're going to need to write 25 applications. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, the next thing we need to know is that if we want to write 25 applications, how many leads are we going to need? So on average, I would say our average to better than average agents are typically averaging somewhere between about a 30 to 35% lead to application ratio. Okay. For this scenario, I think we ought to bring it down a little bit and bring it down to about 25%. So in other words, what that means is that for every lead that you receive, you're going to convert roughly about 25% of those into an application, or about 1 out of 4 is how you can look at it. So if I say I want to write 25 applications, if I just take my 25 and I know that it's 1 out of 4, I need 4 times as many leads equals, that's 100. So that's telling me right there that in the month, I need to have at least 100 leads a month to be able to write those 25 applications. Are you guys following me here? Jimmy, does this make sense?
Yes, sir. It sure does.
All right.
You're good.
Got it. Okay. So in other words, and if I take the 100, that's in a month, and I divide that by 4. Now we all know there's a little bit more than 4 weeks in a month, but we're just going to use 4 anyway. So that means I need 25 leads weekly. Got it? Now, so if I know I need 25 leads weekly, what we're going to do now is that I'm going to erase what I got here, and we're going to check our math. We're going to proof it and see if that's the actual case. So let me erase everything that I just did. If you guys need to take notes, take some notes here. We're recording this too, so I'll get it out to everybody. Okay, we're going to start back up here. So we're starting the week out with 25 leads. Okay, and what we're going to assume for this brand new agent is that the new agent is going to be able to convert 50% of their leads into actual sits, into a presentation. Now, as you get better, what we're hoping is that you should be able to eventually get your lead to presentation ratio closer to 60%. Okay, but we're gonna reduce it a little bit, and we're gonna say 50%. So we're gonna say a 50%. This is a sit ratio. Okay, I think that's 12 and a half, right? 25 times 0.5. That's 12 and a half. Let's just round down to 12. So we're going to say that's going to be 12 presentations. Excuse my handwriting there. 12 presentations. And now we're going to assume a 50%, not necessarily close ratio, but we're going to assume a 50%. It's really an app ratio, which is a little bit below average. What that means is a 50% app ratio means is that you're going to average a half an application per presentation. Okay, it doesn't mean you're closing 50% of your sits, because remember, some of these houses you may write 2 or 3 applications. Okay, again, as you get better and your skills are perfected, ideally agents should be at close to a 60%, 55 to 65% application, sit to application ratio is really what we're looking for. So 50% of the 12 is 6. So we're going to write 6 apps. Remember we said the average application is $650. Whoops, 650. Let's just do this. Why don't we just round that? Why don't we just make that? I think we said we're going to use 600 in AP. So if we take the 600, right? Whoops. The 600 in AP times 6 apps. 6 times 6 is 36. So that would be 3,600 a week in annualized premium. All right. Now let's just check. Let's take 3,600 times 4. I'll do it up here. 36. That's $3,600 in AP times 4. I'm going to write it up here. I have a little bit of room. Is $14,400 in annualized premium submitted. So when we use the reverse engineering and then we reverse it again and back into it, we're pretty close to the number that we're looking for. Okay. Now, as you get better, these numbers are going to be even more favorable. So Jimmy, I'm going to show a different scenario, but anything you want to add to what I'm showing here?
I love it. So the question really is, do you have the 25 leads, new leads every week? Not the same leads, but new leads. Do you have
Right.
that?
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't have 25, and if you're not doing 25 fresh leads, you're going to have to supplement it with a lot of other leads. But remember, we're assuming off of fresh A leads. If you're just getting started, you know, maybe you got to supplement it with a different type of lead source initially, but eventually, to be the most productive and the most efficient, you want to spend less time prospecting, more time selling. So you really want to get to where you're pretty much only working fresh leads and referrals, and maybe blending in some B leads and some age leads here and there. So let me do this real quick. I'm having trouble finding my mouse. Okay. Let me erase this all. Okay. Now, let me show you what the numbers should be. Okay. Pen. Okay. We're going to go up here. We're going to say 25 leads. Whoops. Sorry about that. Here we go. We're going to take your 25 leads per week. Now, this is after you've become a little bit more efficient, okay? 25 leads a week. And we're going to say we're going to get a 60% sit ratio. Okay, that means on the 25 leads times 0.6, that means we're going to get 15 sits or presentations. And then we're going to close. We're going to have a 60% app ratio. These are the numbers that you're trying to get to, guys and girls. So 15 times 0.6. Here you go. these are the. It's ironic, but these are the numbers that were on the on the activity on Steven's activity tracker. Okay, so we got 9. With this, we're writing 9 applications. Okay, times 650. 9 times 650 equals, that's 58.50 in annualized premium. That's what your commission is going to get based off of right here. So let's assume that you write 9 applications, you write the 58.50. Let's say 90% of your business gets placed, it gets issued. You're at 58.50 times 0.9. That's 52.65. Let's just put that number here. 52.65 times a 75% advance, assuming that you're at 100% contract. You're at $3,948. Subtract out your lead cost, 25 times 30, that's 750 in lead cost. 3,984 minus 750. Guys, you are net, let's write this up here, netting 31.98 after your lead cost times 52, or you're at 160,000 a year net after your lead cost. Jimmy, to me, like, this is inspiring because I know what the thing that's always kept me going in sales is that everybody says it's a numbers game. Oh, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. It is a numbers game. The thing about it is that if you want to be successful, is that you got to have the numbers in your favor. In other words, you got to put the odds in your favor. So, and what I mean by that is that the daily prospecting, if you want the odds in your favor, all you got to do is prospect more, make more phone calls, make more door knocks, purchase more, get more leads, get more referrals. Put the numbers in your favor so you can net 160 or 100,000 or 200,000 in a year. Let me see if we have enough time. I wanted to show one more scenario. All right, we do. All right, anything, Jim, anything you want me to show or anything?
I want to comment before you move on.
Sure.
Really, I've been doing this a while. Joe's been doing it longer than me, but I think we've come to the same conclusion when it comes to agents, right? They kind of fit into 3 categories. You have the excusers, people that make excuses of why they're not producing. And we've heard all kinds of excuses, and some creative and some just downright stupid excuses. But when it comes down to it, is people just make excuses for why they're not doing the numbers that they should do. That's one category. And then you have the accusers. They accuse people of why they're not successful. Sometimes they accuse the lead company. These leads suck. It's the leads. Sometimes they accuse Joe or myself. Oh, if only you did more for me. Only if you worked with me personally. Only if you held my hand. Only if you showed me how to do this. Only it's your fault. So they either accuse us, right, or they make an excuse. And then the third group, which is the smallest group, are the choosers. And the choosers choose to be successful. They choose to buy those leads, and they choose to do the activity, and they choose the plan, right? And that's what we're showing you. We're showing you the plan and how it works. And the 2 key components are, 1, you have to have the leads or it doesn't work. And 2, you have to have the activity or it doesn't work. But you're the one that makes that choice, right? So what are you going to be? An excuser, an accuser, or a chooser?
I love it, man. That's awesome. That's great, Jimmy. I've never heard that before.
But it sums it up, right?
It really does, man. And I tell you what, man, it's easy to make excuses. It's hard to do the work. But we get paid for doing the work, man. So the last thing I want to do for you guys is just what is kind of what I always like doing is with the reverse engineering and keeping track with my numbers. I always wanted to know, I always wanted to have the power of knowing exactly what is my return on investment. I think that's so critical. So we've already kind of did the math here of the scenario where you want to be. It's really pretty easy to do this. So if we just can take a look at the top number up here where I put 20, we had the 25 leads. And then after we netted, we had the, we took minus the 10% fallout, we did the 75% advance, we subtract out our lead costs. We figured it out that at the end of the day, we're going to net after our lead costs on 25 A leads, we're going to net $3,198. So let's do this. Let me erase everything. And let me go back here to the pen. So we said our net, whoops, I did that again. Gosh darn it. All right, still trying to get this thing figured out. All right, so we said our net after 25 leads, after our lead expense, obviously you got to put gas in your car. That's not, I mean, honestly, even on my craziest weeks, I never spent more than $50 on gas. I mean, that's now if you're driving a big pickup truck with a 400 cubic inch engine, you're maybe you're going to spend $100 on gas, but get a good fuel efficient car for making your door knocks. So you're going to be netting. What we said is that the net after our lead expense was $31.98. All you got to do is take what the net is, check this out, and just divide it by the leads. We got 25 leads, and that means for every lead that you purchased, you're making $128. Okay. Once you know that number and you've been tracking your numbers, then you talk about predicting your income. Maybe your number is $100 a lead. Maybe it's 200, but everyone's going to have a slightly different number. My number was always about 130. I always knew that. No, regardless, some weeks are better than others, but I always knew every lead I purchase, I'm going to net after all my expenses, I'm going to net about 130 bucks. Okay. I'm using 128. Why is this number important? Because now you can dial in your income. Okay. You can say to yourself, what if I want to net this year? I want to net, you can use any number. After my lead expenses, I want to net $100,000 a year. It's really easy. Here's all you got to do is you got to take 100,000. I'm going to do it on a calculator. 100,000 divided by 128 equals, that means for this coming year, you're going to need 781 leads to net after expenses. Now keep in mind, we're not even figuring in this is advanced money. We're not even figuring in the extra 25% you're going to get on the back end. So, you're in the long run, you're going to end up netting more. We're just talking about advanced commission pay of 100,000. So 781 leads, 781 divided by 52, that's 15 leads a week. Does that make sense, Jimmy?
It makes total sense, Joe.
Those are the numbers. If you want to make 150,000 a year, let's just do that. Let's say 150,000 divided by the same 128. I'm going to put that number here. You're going to need 172 leads for the year. And let me take that and divide that by 52. That's 22 and a half. We'll just round it to 23. 23 leads a week. Okay. So if you're new and you don't have your numbers yet, just use the numbers that we're using on the screen. Maybe you want to use, if you want to dial it down a little bit, you can use 120 or 115, whatever number you want to use. But the importance of setting your goals, keeping track of your numbers, you'll never be able to do reverse engineering if you're not keeping track of your numbers. That's the important part of it. And that's one of the things, I'm just telling you, man, that's one of the things that always like motivated me and kept me going, is that I could always look back at my activity tracker and say, you know, this is why I got to get out. This is why I got to make this many phone calls. You know, every phone call I make is worth $10, whether they pick up or not. Every time I do a door knock, I know it's worth $50. Every time I purchase a lead, that's like $130, $128 in this case, $128 in my bank account. Okay. So anything else you can think of, Jimmy, about reverse engineering, or do you think we covered just about everything?
I think you did a great job covering that, Joe. I do want to add something to kind of finish off the goal setting. And I'm
Okay.
sorry about that. My wife just walked in. But
Tell Ruby I said hi.
Joseph.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Ruby.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, sweetie.
Thank you.
So getting back to goal setting, here's the thing that's really, really important. Let's say you're tracking your activity, you have the leads, you're going out there, you're hustling, and your numbers are falling short. In other words, you're trending to hit short. You're not going to hit the goal. What do? Well, I'm going to tell you first what you don't do is you don't adjust your goals. I don't know where this came from, but I've heard it so many times. People say, oh, set your goals and then you can always lower them later. You can adjust them later. No. You don't do that. You adjust your activity. So if you're trending to fall short of your goal, just increase your activity, make more door knocks, make more phone calls, get more presentations out there. That's how you stay on pace to achieve your goal. So I just thought I'd point that out real quick.
Yeah, that's very, very important. That's something that I've heard from you. I've heard it from Grant Cardone. You know, increase your activity, man. Increase the activity. That's where it's at. Well, with that, Jimmy, I mean, we're pretty much at the end of the call. I want to get this recorded and get it out to everybody. We can end the call a couple of minutes early. Any last words of encouragement or anything you want to say before we sign off?
Get you some. Get out there and make it happen.
Get you some. Love it. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'm available this weekend if you need me. God bless. I hope this has been encouraging and inspiring, and really looking forward to an awesome year in 2021. God bless everybody. Bye, Jimmy.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, buddy. I'll see you later.